Hello, all you beautiful drywallers out there in drywall land. Welcome to a traveling episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. With us today, we have Matt Arey of Arey Drywall out of Tennessee with his first appearance on the show. We talk about his experience visiting the Trimtex facility as a special spotlight finisher, and also take a stroll through time and history of the Arey Drywall franchise and how architecture wasn't the route he wanted to take, and how a cold New England winter made him jealous of the drywallers.
I could recall a job when I was young. It was in the middle of winter, New England winters, pretty harsh. I was outside of a house. I think I was up on scaffolding doing soffits or fascias or something with my father. And I remember looking in the window in the middle of winter, and these drywall guys are inside, all toasty with heaters going. They're in shorts,
dancing,
and t-shirt,
listening to music,
I'm out
dancing
here
around,
in the freezing cold. Yeah, and I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've always enjoyed it. The little bit I did with drywall. I don't know why. It was just something that was fascinating to me. And even when I wasn't doing it and I was watching them doing it, I found myself like not paying attention to what I was doing and like kind of watching those guys. And over the years, I did a little bit more until eventually I hooked up with a guy I was in a band with, and they practiced at his father owned a drywall company. They practiced at his commercial space.
Okay.
And I was always like out there talking to the guys, asking questions, and they're like, "Come back in, we got to play music. What are you doing out there?" And I was just fascinated by it, and I ended up working with him.
We got to meet each other recently at the Build 25 show, and I just think he is a super great guy. We have a deep conversation this episode on training the new guy and some pet peeves we both have when training. We discuss the challenges of learning the automatic tools and why he chose the traveling lifestyle. We talk about his success on social media and much, much more. All right, things are starting to heat up here with Tape Tech a little bit. I want to give another shout out for Tape Tech doubling down on their sponsorship effort with the Drywall Podcast, as they will be sponsoring the month of June as well. Last month, we got attacked by the T-Rex. And this month, we're going to be smoothing out your world with a little help from our friends at Tape Tech and maybe some badass skimming blades. All right, here we go. Let's talk about finishing. If you're out there chasing that perfect finish, or just looking to make wipe downs faster, cleaner, and smoother, this one is for you. Pay attention. We're diving into Tape Tech premium finishing blades. These knives are built for precision and engineered for comfort. We're talking about Inox German stainless steel. So the blade's got that perfect flex, but never loses its edge, whether you're working with a 7-inch knife or pushing a 48-inch monster skimming blades. These premium finishing knives are for you, and they're giving finishers ultimate control, reach, and value. Want to learn more about these amazing tools? Head over to tapetech.com. That's tapetech, no hyphen, .com. Or check out their social media pages for more information. They're always posting awesome stuff there. Also, check out my episode with the great Mark Wilson of Tape Tech, episode 125, only on the Drywall Podcast. But for now, let's go on a little RV excursion with our new friend Matt Arey of Arey Drywall on episode 134. Let's get into it. Beautiful. You're in the RV.
Correct.
You live in the RV.
I live in the RV.
Nice. We're representing four companies. You've got your Trimtex hat, Serpro Stilts shirt. I've got my Drywall Jesse Can-Am.
Good. This is
Very
sponsored
good.
by Tape Tech.
Tape Tech. This episode, yeah. Tape Tech and Ames. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
The
own two Tape Tech tools.
Okay. I've heard good things. Matt Arey. Heaven forbid I call you Ari.
Yeah,
Uh
everybody does.
so it's probably annoying. You're like, no, my name's Arey. Say it right,
I've heard it
sucker.
all.
I like it.
AV, Avery, Array.
Array.
Yep.
Number 30, 134. You're going to be.
Awesome.
We're plowing through. We're plowing through. I don't have my pencil. Let me get a pencil. Smoothie was probably not the best idea, but I was running around. I was doing laundry and doing the dishes. Made a quick smoothie. Made coffee. I have little things that I do each show,
hmm
to
hmm
keep it consistent.
I got you.
That I'm
No,
comfortable with.
I've just been sitting here with coffee,
Yeah, cool, cool.
waiting.
Yeah, it's a pain. It's challenging to get people onto the podcast. I mean, some people want to do it. Some people I try to get, but I think they're shy. They don't want to do it. Uh, it's a crapshoot. I mean, people are different. We're all different, unique individuals that share the common thread of drywall. That
hmm
said, drywallers are kind of unique. They're unique characters in their own right. You've
Yeah.
gotten to meet some drywallers now. Like, I
hmm
mean, you can say we're weirdos. It's probably okay, but
Yeah.
we
Some
share
weirder than others.
some weird. We share like this thing called drywall, and it's not for everybody, and people would think that we're crazy for doing it, but a lot of
Yeah.
us enjoy it. And here on the Drywall Podcast, we're going to figure out why Matt Arey got into this trade. Arey Drywall. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nick. Glad to be here.
So
It's
Matt,
funny you said real quick about some people are a little bit shy. So when I did my
yeah,
first podcast, that's what I was nervous about, not having anything to talk about. And then it
yeah,
ran for like 3 hours. Because
yeah,
drywall guys, no matter how different they are, where they are in the world, you get them together and start talking about drywall, you can just keep
yes.
going. So
Yeah, the
that was pretty cool.
challenge, I think, in that, you're correct, is keeping it interesting. So, like keeping a thread going that tells a
hmm
story.
hmm
And so we have listeners, we're getting more and more listeners all the time. We've got awesome sponsors like Tape Tech and Ames that are climbing on board. East Coast Drywall Tools is gonna is
Awesome.
gonna is gonna sponsor, and then Mudskip, I think, in like November.
hmm
So we've
East
got
Coast, I just caught them on Instagram or TikTok, and I started going through their channel. I had never heard of them before, but they got a lot of good
cool.
content. I started following them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
really cool stuff. So I interviewed Derek Trout a while ago that owns East Coast Drywall Tools, and he's a
hmm
salty old school. He's got a long beard, but
Yeah, I saw pictures of them.
it's a great interview. He's super knowledgeable, and we talk about East Coast Drywall Tools, and he shows like these old banjos. He's got all these
Yeah, yep.
old tools,
hmm
and they
And
refurbish tools.
they're out of Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I think East Coast. I can't remember off the top of my
Yeah, I
head,
think
but
so.
yeah, he was a pretty early episode, over 2 years ago.
Oh,
Now
really?
it's crazy
I'll have
that
to go back and check that out.
it's been that long. And I got my drywall mug. I've only one of these made. I need to give these away. They're kind of cool.
No, give away stickers. That's what people want.
The
Everybody's
stickers.
got I'm against coffee mugs. There's too many. You don't. A person doesn't need more than one.
Oh, that's true. That's
Hmm.
true. I like the hats too. I have the Fresco Harmony hats because if somebody gloms onto your hat, it might not be everybody, but if someone gloms onto your hat, they're gonna wear it like every day.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
I have people that really like my hats and they'll wear them,
Hmm.
and that's good advertising. Shirts, you get like a bunch of them. They stack up. You wear them once. You
Hmm.
put them in the pile. It's a
Hmm.
little trickier. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yep.
hmm Stickers,
I don't
though,
have a fresco hat,
you don't
but
have a Fresco hat.
maybe after I do my first fresco job, I'll get one.
We'll get you a hat, buddy. I just got some
I
in
do have,
stock. I don't order too many because they're expensive. And then
right,
people
exactly.
might talk trash about me and the amount of swag that I give out. Here's something about it's expensive.
It
And
is.
I normally just give it out. Like we sell the hats and the shirts on the website, but for the
Uh-huh.
most part, I'll get an order of shirts or an order of hats. I will give them all out. You know, people generally will just request them, just like you just did, and I'll be like, oh,
Uh-huh.
I'll give Matt a hat. You know.
You know you say it's expensive, but what's even more expensive is the shipping. I shipped a couple shirts to Canada, and the shipping cost more than the product did. You
Yeah,
know,
if you
that's
don't
tough when you got
ship,
a bunch of people that want
if you don't ship a lot, yeah, it's pricey.
them.
So you have to be careful with that. When I do a giveaway, you know, we had one time Weep 182 or whatever won one of my giveaways, and he's in like New Zealand. Cost me like
Yeah,
$70 to,
yeah.
ship him whatever. I think it was a Can-Am Anglehead or
Hmm.
something. Uh, man, we digress fast.
Hey, real quick, what happened? What's up with that hawk that you gave away?
I gave it away.
You just started collecting all these stickers and then just decided to send it off. Now I got to send you another sticker.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Well, you
Yeah,
sent
I
me
do.
two. So I have a couple places that I put my stickers. One is the fridge,
The fridge.
the fridge of
Hmm.
love that I have, like, that's like a cool
Yep.
collection. I mean, even if I got rid of that fridge, I would keep that door and like hang it somewhere
Yeah. Yep.
because it's cool now.
Hmm.
Uh yeah, or take a photo. I wish that I had like a panel that I put the stickers on that I could put behind me.
That's what I did in my work trailer because before I was just putting them on like one of my wooden shelves, and I was like,
hmm
I lost all those stickers, so I bought a piece of like shiny stainless metal and screwed it up, and then started putting my stickers on that. So, as time goes on, if I replace the trailer, I can just take that panel, and I still got all my stickers saved.
Yeah, that there.
I got that one.
The Drywall podcast gets a lot of interest. So I'd like to make
Hmm.
shirts with the Drywall podcast sticker, but something new that I have not announced yet that's going to be happening that was an idea of Mudskip was Sheila really likes her interview on the Drywall podcast because it talks about Mudskip. So she gives out the Drywall podcast sticker and she was writing on the back like episode whatever, Sheila
Okay.
Cross with Mudskip. So
Yep.
she was like, "Can you please make me a sticker?" And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna make. That's my brand. People like the stickers." And then the more I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, that would be a really cool caveat for sponsors
Hmm.
to make the Drywall podcast, and then make like CSR mixtape." And so, like, at the bottom, like in
Oh yeah, yeah,
Sharpie,
yeah, yeah.
like, so
Actually,
I'm gonna do a run of stickers with the individual sponsors.
okay.
Columbia mixtape. All of the individual sponsors for the Drywall podcast are gonna have a cool. It's gonna be tape tech, no, tape
Okay. Yep. Yep.
techno mix. For
That's
tape
awesome.
tech.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
your
yeah.
sticker I got from CSR. They sent me something and included one of your stickers with it.
Yeah, so I was like, well, that's really good advertising for the Drywall podcast if CSR has an actual, and then there's a QR
Hmm.
code corresponding to Sheila Cross's episode. of the
Okay.
Drywall podcast, or whatever CSR episode, whatever they wanted to highlight, maybe the Pearl of Wisdom. Columbia's would be the interview with Aaron and Elliot, like that.
Yeah.
So if I can
Hmm.
just send out stickers with Fresco Harmony orders, that's cool. But if I have CSR sending out stickers, Mudskip sending out stickers, Columbia sending out stickers, Can-Am sending out stickers, well then, it floods the market.
And then people are going to want to collect all of them.
Then collect the whole set. Yeah. There you go.
Hmm.
Yeah, I dig it.
Hey, you going to do
Uh,
little figurines?
no, we talk about the figurines. Oh, on Aaron and Elliot's episode, we talk about
Yeah.
the little figurines.
Yep.
No, I have no desire to do a figurine.
A little
Little
Nick Harmon
bobblehead,
stress
little
ball, a
bobblehead.
squeeze Nick Harmon stress
What would
ball
I do? I would probably do like a little soccer ball, stress ball or something. I don't know. I don't get them.
in the future.
I have to get it, man. It has to like resonate with me and on a personal level, I guess.
It's just to collect. That's all.
Did you go out of your way to get like a Trimtex like little dude? They've got like a little collection of dudes.
They have a ton of them. I was just there last week, and Adriana brought me into some back storage room and showed me the history of those little balls, and there was like probably 30 different kinds.
Okay. We can start with Trimtex before we go into the history. You just took a trip out to Trimtex. Now, this is an elitist trip because on my last interview with Joe Koenig, he kind of said in not so many words, we kind of only invite people out now. Before, you used to be able to do the pilgrimage to Trimtex. Now it's kind of invite only. And they're doing highlight, applicator, finisher highlight. And that's why you were there,
Yeah.
correct? Do you want to
Hmm. Yeah.
so did Joe reach out to you? You use a lot of Trimtex. How did that work?
I've been using Trimtech since I started in drywall, so about 20 years. They had a contest. It was a giveaway for their milestone of reaching 100,000 followers. They, I won that giveaway contest. So the prize was, an expenses paid trip out there. And then Adriana messaged me. She does their, marketing and social media stuff, and she said she wanted me to do one of those spotlight interviews like you were talking about.
Yeah,
Chad's
okay.
done
Spotlight.
it,
Yep.
the Gilberts have done it. There's a bunch of people have done it. So there was that, and then it was a tour, and then just learning a lot about the history of the company, which I learned a lot of from Joe's interview with you. So it was nice to go down there and
Yeah.
see all the stuff he was talking about in that interview. It's very, very fascinating. That place is
Yeah.
a well-oiled machine. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's spotless. Everybody's got their job. You think you're walking into a factory and it's going to be dusty and smelly. I mean, it's clean there, man. They run a tight ship.
And it runs
So
like 247.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that place just cranks corner bead
Hmm.
constantly. Truckloads
That was
going
real
out.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, yeah. It's
Well, I
pretty.
was walking through the warehouse where they store everything, and I mean, everything is stacked so neatly, and there's a ton of it. And I was like blown away. I felt bad because I wasn't even, I went in there with the plan to record a bunch of content and capture everything on video, but I didn't get anything. I was just walking around, listening, learning, soaking it all up, and
Yeah.
that was a cool experience.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to get content because you want to experience
Hmm.
the moment and you don't want to be distracted with like, oh, this would be a good shot, that would be a good shot. They have
Hmm.
lots of good content there of their facility. Very cool. So you had a good experience. You got to hang out with everybody. What are some of the other perks of being elite member of the Spotlight community for Trimtex?
It's definitely helpful having the contact information for people that I need to communicate with regarding, products or ordering problems or just learning about what's coming up next. And just the other day, I messaged her. I forgot to grab a catalog at the Build Expo, and I needed to be able to show a customer some stuff.
Yeah.
And just being able to call her and say, hey, can you send me a catalog when you get a chance, or I need a sample of this. So having the context is really beneficial. Being connected and getting kind of like, I don't know, an inside look at how they make their products and how they test the products uh, uh, really helps when you're trying to sell a product to a customer, to know that, okay, this is perfect for this application. I've seen it done a million ways. The guys that have designed this have showed me how to install it. So it's definitely beneficial getting that firsthand look at stuff.
Let's do a little stroll into the past.
We could do that.
Are you first generation drywaller?
Yeah, my father was like a builder, remodeler, framer.
Okay.
So
Okay. So
I started off working with him from a young, very young age.
okay.
Um, and although didn't get like super professional into the drywall, I mean, with remodeling, you kind of do a little bit of everything. So I got the basics from a young age. I mean, I was still in high school when I started, on weekends and school
Okay.
vacations, summers, stuff like that.
You didn't want to go to college or anything.
I did go to college for a year for
Okay.
architecture
Okay.
in Boston, but I really soon figured out that it wasn't really the journey I wanted to take. I was always hands-on, and I really, really loved the creativity of architecture. I was in um, I was in some architectural programs in high school where we got to design houses and submit them to like home shows and stuff like that. And we'd build models and floor plans. And it was really, I liked the opportunity to design what I wanted to design. And then when I got into college, I quickly learned that unless you own your own architectural firm, you're not really using your creativity at all. You're just, when you start, you're going to spend years just doing kind of bitch work for the architect.
Sure.
And I didn't want to waste time doing that. In college, they were having me design things that I just kind of right away was like, I don't really want to design this. I want to build it. I want to be hands-on. So
Yeah.
I left and never looked
Yeah.
back.
So you are from Boston though?
I am from Connecticut, and I
Connecticut.
lived there up until 4 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm in Tennessee now.
Tennessee. Beautiful Tennessee down there with Jay Delk. Yeah?
If I remember correctly, he's more northeast or northwest. I think Jesse was over there recently.
Yep. You guys should hook up. You should go. That dude's he's a good guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've not
he's pretty
talked to him,
cool.
but I probably should
Yeah, he's a
keep
pretty
us
good dude.
Tennesseans together. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And but you're just in passing in Tennessee. Well, I don't want to get to the traveling yet, but so how did you stumble onto the drywall trade? You said you've been in since you were in high school, so you must have like bumped into somebody that was like, "Hey man, I'll give you a job doing drywall or something."
I could recall a job when I was young. It was in the middle of winter, New England winters, pretty harsh. I was outside of a house. I think I was up on scaffolding doing soffits or fascias or something with my father. And I remember looking in the window in the middle of winter, and these drywall guys are
Yeah,
inside, all toasty with heaters going. They're in shorts and a
dancing,
t-shirt,
listening to
and
music,
I'm out
dancing
here in the
around.
freezing cold. Yeah, and I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
And ever since then, I mean, I've always enjoyed it. The little bit I did with drywall. I don't know why. I mean, just it was just something that was fascinating to me. And even when I wasn't doing
that's
it and I was
funny.
watching them doing it, I found myself like not paying attention to what I was doing and like kind of watching those guys. And I mean, over the years, I did a little bit more until eventually I hooked up with a guy I was in a band with, and they practiced at his father owned a drywall company. They practiced at his commercial space.
Okay.
And I was always like out there talking to the guys, asking questions. And they're like, "Come back in. We got to play music. What are you doing out there?" And I was just fascinated by it. And I ended up working with him for a bunch of years and learned a bunch and been in drywall ever since.
Crazy. What was the name of that company?
It was called Drywall Perfection out of West Hartford, Connecticut.
And you say
Hmm.
you were in a band. What did you play? What was your
In that band, I played the bass guitar. It was a
bass?
rock band. Yeah.
You play guitar though.
I'm a guitar player. Yeah. I really stopped kind of when my daughter was born. You know, I was in a few touring bands. We had some record deals and got a couple albums on iTunes. And
Crazy.
I just played so much through the younger years. And then when my daughter was born, she's 9 now, I stopped playing the things I love, stopped playing with people. And then I started learning like Disney tunes and stuff from her TV shows that I could play for her and she could sing along to and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I packed it up and just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Occasionally I go back to it and mess around with stuff and then I get stuck and I put it down and I screw this, I'll play it later. But
Yeah. Music's weird. It's a weird animal.
yeah.
That's pretty good though. If you were touring around and playing in a band, that's kind of
Hmm.
next level. That's next level.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't really going anywhere.
Right. It's hard. That's a hard route, man.
It is hard. A lot of work,
So,
little money.
yeah. So, but in the back of your mind, you're on stage, you're playing in front of like people, maybe not very many, maybe a bunch. You're thinking about drywall. You want to go back. You want to go back to that warm, cozy house where those guys are dancing around doing finishing.
Yeah.
You're thinking about the mud, man.
No, I don't think I was at that time. No.
Okay, so but you are this guy in your band. His dad owns a drywall company. You hop on with Drywall Perfection, and what do you start doing?
Well, it was kind of a weird transition because when I started working with him, I was working for myself as a subcontractor for my father's company and a couple others. I was doing a lot of framing and remodeling work.
Okay.
And so when I started working with him, I just did sub work for him when I was slow. And but I worked with the guy, and he taught me kind of the professional way to do things, not the remodeler, home improvement guy way to do things. So it was kind of a weird transition because I kind of had to like learn all over again what I had been doing
You
wrong.
you watch Drywall Shorty videos.
No, this was before
No.
then. This was probably early 2000s or
Okay.
mid 2000s. But he had me start and up there in Connecticut, those guys were all hand finishers and was all knife and trowel.
Oh,
And
okay.
he would like I'd go around and put mud on, or he'd put the mud on and I'd put the tape on for him. And then I started doing closets and mechanical rooms and garages, things like that. And then like
Not
every
even
week
not
I'd
even automatic tools for applying the tape. Like they straight
no,
up put them.
everything. I mean, the commercial guys would use banjos, but only if it was like a lot of board.
Okay.
Everybody, I mean, it's largely a lot of French Canadian tapers up there from Quebec.
Okay.
And up until up until I moved to Tennessee, I mean, I never even saw a hawk before. I never it was all knife and trowel. And I
Wait,
mean, at least
knife,
everybody
knife,
that
knife and
a 6 inch
trowel.
knife and a trowel, like the Gilberts. You've seen how they work?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That always looks
So,
so weird to me. They do that with plaster too, and I'm always like,
well,
they don't even use a.
hawk
They
looks weird
don't.
to me.
Right, right. They get that 6 inch knife, they kind of scoop it out of the bucket, and then
Hmm.
they
So
whittle.
that's how I worked for almost 20 years
Okay,
before I
okay.
started into tools.
And just
Um,
just to be clear, that's wrong. That is not the right way to
well,
joke.
we'll talk about that later.
No, no, it's just like, and I can't stress enough on the Drywall podcast. People come on and where I'm constantly learning. The last podcast, with the one that drops tomorrow, he talks about the 4.5 foot board, and I'm like, 4.5 foot board? Like I'd never heard of four and a
54.
half. I've never heard of 4.5 foot. Like maybe I just haven't. Maybe I've heard of 54. I just haven't heard it called 4.5.
Right, right, right. Well,
Like
here they call it
wide.
stretch.
He was
They call
calling
it
it
stretch
wide.
board here.
Yeah, he was calling it wide board, and I was like, really? They have 4.5 foot board? I guess I have heard
It's
of 54 inch, but it
we
just
c-
didn't
I
register.
it's a regional thing. I grew up calling it 54. Here they call it stretch. There's a million different names for everything,
Well, luckily I
you
stayed
know.
away from hanging, so I don't even want to know that shit. Like
I
hanging
love
never
hanging.
hanging never really appealed to me, although it does look kind of fun. Well, like when you watch people that know what they're doing,
I love it.
it looks fun.
Yeah. It's not
Hard.
fun, but I love it. It's hard.
Yeah, it looks hard. But the dudes that know what they're doing, they like throw those
Hmm.
sheets out. Watching like Danny Moody, like he's a
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
amazing. He's an amazing
Oh, it's
hanger.
all it's all a methodical race. Like, it's like a personal race against yourself,
Yeah,
because everybody's got like their average of how many boards they think they can hang in a day, and trying to beat that is like just the primal male, like go,
yeah,
go, 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 and
yeah.
that's what I like about it.
Well, back to the story. You are learning old school finishing, like from these like French Canadian style,
Hmm.
And if you haven't seen the Gilbert taping, their method, it's pretty cool, and they're amazing. They do amazing work, and they're fast, and obviously they make
Hmm.
money doing it. They can't.
Oh, they're so
You
fast. Yeah.
you have to move. So you that's the way you learned.
According to my old partner, I progressed kind of fast, and
Sure.
it was definitely helpful being the new guy on the crew, having already years of construction experience, because a lot of things do
Right.
transfer over.
Yeah.
When you're green, and you don't know anything, I mean, and you don't know how to read a tape measure, or measuring like angled cuts and stairways and stuff like that, gables. I knew all that from plywood and
Right.
roofs and stuff like that. So it was I caught on a little bit faster than I think probably most people do.
Yeah. I'll
Um,
bet.
and, and I and the big thing for me, I think, was that I really, really enjoyed it. I wanted to learn. I wanted
Okay.
to hurry and be on the same level as my buddy
Yeah.
in the band.
Yeah.
So when I went home at night, and I did this when I was doing carpentry with my father, I mean, I continued to learn. I thought about it. A lot of guys now, and I don't blame them, new guys on the job, they're there, they check for their 8 hours, they go home, they don't think. They don't they don't try to do better the next day. They
Yeah.
just want to get their paycheck. And that's a big problem, I think, in today's industry. But I was always trying to learn more and doing research on my own and asking questions to other guys. And even back when I was supposed to be at band practice, like I said, I was out in the shop talking to the guys, asking, "What's this product? What do you use this for?" They're, get back in here, let's go. I just
Yeah.
wanted to learn.
People either have passion for what they do, they're into what they're up to, or they're looking at the clock. My suggestion would be like if you're looking at the clock, you may not be in the right you may not be in the right field.
Well, to jump in there on that, I've trained a number of new guys over my career, and I will say the first thing I tell people is if you're just looking for a job, I'm not going to waste my time teaching you. If you're looking to do this as a career, jump on board, because I'm not going
Okay.
to waste a year of my life, of my time, losing money on you if this isn't what you want to do. Come down for a week, try it, see how you like it.
Check it out.
After that, after that, you really got to start to show some interest. But
I had this guy. I had it was like a friend. Is like, oh, he knows how to finish. And I talked to him on the phone. It's like because part of it's like not that. What you're talking about is like next level. Like, will they show up when they say? And do they have a car? like
Yeah, that's a big one. Yep.
remedial base necessities to, work with me at least, because you're just in my way. I won't do as I'll just do the job. I don't need to waste the $500 to waste.
Yeah.
So he was okay, like I was training him, nice enough guy. He was a musician as well, and didn't know. And my vetting process for knowing if somebody has done drywall before is let them mix a bucket. Like if they don't know
Hmm.
how to transfer the box, or even if they don't know how to thin down the mud, but if they can't transfer the box and spin up a batch, well, they've never done drywall. Like
Well, I think a really
real
good
drywall.
telltale giveaway is the tools that they show up with.
Yeah,
If
that's true.
if
That's
somebody
true.
shows up to a job and they have a brand new tool belt, a cheap tool belt from Lowe's, but it's all spotless, or cheap knives and pans, and they're all brand new. Like, I
That's
mean,
true.
you can tell. I mean,
Well,
we've been around long enough.
so the guy was slow, which is fine. I don't expect him, and I want him to go slow. I want you to learn how to do it right. He could wield the
Hmm.
trowel. He wasn't great, but fresco, you don't have to be like perfect or anything. Like,
Right,
so
right.
he was kind of cruising. He was kind of slow, but I was like, okay, I did like half this wall. I could do the other half of the wall in, and I'm not joking, 20 minutes. Like, so there's 3 hours left. Like, I got to go. I need you to finish this wall so the shit's dry tomorrow. So, and I have stuff to do at the office. I'm gonna let you. I'm
Right.
gonna release the reins. It's like day 3. I'm just testing you on this one project. Day 3, finish half a wall. Like, let's see what you got. No angles, very simple. And like 3 o'clock, that was like noon, 3 o'clock, and I left him lunch. I was like, "Do you have lunch?" Like, because I have like an apple protein shake. I'm big on like, don't waste a fucking hour and a half going to get lunch, please. That's
Bingo. Yep.
I'm not like bring a goddamn lunch. And I told him to bring a lunch. Like, so I have my pet peeves, we all do. But like, well, yeah,
Hmm.
wasting an hour and a half to go spend money on lunch is stupid, especially if you need a
Hmm.
job. So
Hmm.
so around 3 o'clock he calls. He's like, I'm not gonna get that wall done. I'm just like,
Of
really?
course.
Really? I was like, okay. And come to find out, yeah, as soon as I left, and Robbie, the tile guy, is my friend on the job. He's like, yeah, as soon as you left, man, he was out of here.
Yeah,
He
keep an
like
eye on them. Yep.
bailed for an hour and a half. He didn't even have to keep an eye out. He was like, yeah,
You
he
got a
bailed, went and got
little
lunch.
spy on the job.
So yeah, one week I let him finish, he helped me and finish, but I like gave him shit about it. I was like, dude, that's why I asked you, can you finish this? And then he couldn't. But he could have. Like, but he just wasn't
Well,
into it. It goes back to what you're saying, man. You got to vet. Like, if you're not into it, I can tell this isn't just a paycheck. And he thought he was worth more than 20 an hour. Like, I was starting him at 20 an hour. And it's
of
like,
course they were.
dude, you ain't
Hmm.
worth $10 an hour. I wasted 500
Yeah,
bucks on your ass, that I could have put in my pocket. So
that's the hard truth.
that's
But
hard. That's hard.
it also depends on what you need a guy for. I mean, if you're running like a large company and you just need a guy that all he knows how to do is run a nail spotter,
True.
then that's fine. But I mean, and you could deal with that and just swap them out, right? When this guy
Yeah.
quits, hire somebody else. But I need somebody that I can say, go to this address and do that job.
Yeah.
I don't need
It's,
somebody to work with me and do all the easy things that only take me 5 minutes to do myself anyway. I need
yeah.
somebody to, go do this bathroom while I'm doing this or something. And it's hard to teach these guys and get them to that point and hope that they stick around and don't just go off on their own, or it's
Yeah.
it's frustrating, but it's life.
Yeah, yeah, and then the margins are difficult when you start hiring people,
Hmm.
looking at the margins, being competitive with your pricing, but still like being able to afford help, And then the
Right.
GC's like, "Why is it so much?" It's like, well, because a jug of milk is $10, dude.
Hmm.
It's like
It,
I
it's
can't.
really sad, but like my market is kind of cheap in this area, but it's
Yeah,
really
here
sad
too,
that
here
like
too.
the amount that I could pay somebody to teach them and have them work with me, like starting rate is less than like what they could get at McDonald's. I mean, really, like the
Right,
prices are so
right.
low that it's like I wouldn't even I'd feel bad offering a guy X amount per hour because I wouldn't do
Hmm.
it for that. I mean, it's too low, but realistically, they're not worth anything. They're not they're not fast enough to be like a help. I
Hmm.
remember actually when I first started with that buddy of mine that I was talking about, I wanted to know how good of a job I did at the end of day one, and we joke about this from time to time, me and him.
Sure,
But
sure.
at the end of day one, I was like, all right, that job took us 2 hours. And I said, how long would that have taken you if I wasn't here to help you? Thinking I saved him a bunch of time, 2 hours, right? And he
Yeah,
goes,
yeah.
probably an hour. Would have taken me probably an hour without your help. So I'm like, really? I didn't help at all. Like I slowed you down. Well, yeah, because I got to stop what I'm doing to show you how to do this.
Yeah, for
And then
sure.
so I'm losing productivity. But then not only that, I got to go back after you finish and fix all the stuff you messed up on. So you're not making money with a new guy. I mean,
Right.
in what I'm trying to do. I mean, there
Yeah.
are little tasks you can give somebody that they'll help, clean up or whatever, but it's just too frustrating. I pretty much altogether just gave up on hiring help. I got guys I sub stuff
Yeah.
to, but as far as me trying to train somebody, I'm done with that.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
common.
just do it
Pretty
myself.
common. Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
Me too. I had, Jack. Jack was a great hand. He knew fresco, and all I'm doing is fresco harmony. So, like, he knew how to do it. I could turn him loose on a job, But now I'm just doing like small enough jobs that I can do it. It's make it
Hmm.
premium. It's like less is more, kind of,
Right.
And a lot
Correct.
of the old school dudes go to patching because it's like $500, do a 4 hour
Yep.
patch, make good money,
Hmm.
whatever. Now they got the mud skip. People are throwing mud skip in there. Maybe you turn a 2 day project into a one day project. Well, now you're making money. you know.
Yeah. Yep.
In theory. Okay, cool. So you are with this company. How long are you with this company? You learn everything about, and you're saying like sort of old school trowel and knife finishing application system. You learn stem to stern the entire finishing process using a frickin' trowel and knife, like no tools.
In the beginning, for a few years, it was everything trowel and knife, but we did use one of those those lamb's wool rollers. You've
Yeah,
seen those
for
things
for
to
inside for
dunk
inside corner.
dunk it in the mud. That's how we applied the
Uh,
mud, and then
uh,
we would tape it by
uh,
hand. But
but that's just
it
corner
was
corner, right?
yeah, yeah, just corner roller. And then
Yeah,
back then it was all metal bead that we stapled on. Um,
nice.
but then I was still also like I was a subcontractor for this company because I was running a home improvement company at the time. I did
Okay,
decks and additions and kitchens and stuff like that.
okay,
So I was still doing drywall stuff on my own, um, while also doing jobs with this guy who ended up he was my best friend, best man at my
cool,
wedding, and so me and this guy are real
nice.
close. And I worked with him for a number of years until um, I started getting bigger drywall jobs, and I was focusing less on the remodeling jobs. And I would sub some stuff out to his company, and then he'd hire me to do stuff, and I'd have my own customers. He had his own customers, and then we thought after a while, let's just join together, and instead of playing this back and forth Mickey Mouse thing,
Right.
you know, so we just throw all our resources in one hat,
Smart.
and that way, yeah. So that worked out, and
It's nice having a
oh,
buddy though too, right? It's like you show up, you get the job done faster, you get to razz each other, you got somebody there to, pick on. It's just
yep.
more, it's like more fun to have another person there.
Oh, absolutely. And we
Yeah.
worked together for probably, man, I think since '09. And after a while, his father retired, and his father had kind of like a right hand man that also kind of took a step back. He had some health problems or whatever. So me and my buddy, his name's Kyle. We ended
Kyle.
up starting to kind of run the company together. Because I came in with my own customers. He already had his own customers, and we lived at like both ends of the state at the time, which it's
Was
a small
Kyle
state. Connecticut's
was
a very small state.
Kyle Kyle working for his dad's company when you guys teamed up, or was he on his own?
No, no, he was working for the company. It was a corporation, so it was,
Oh,
he
okay.
was an employee of the company.
Okay.
But once I started throwing my contacts in with his company, because it just made more sense rather than
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
borrowing his guys to help me on a job, and it just,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to throw everything together. But then at that time, we ended up hiring a guy that was using the compound tube route of taping,
Okay.
with the applicators and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
he was running a compound tube to tape,
Well,
and he had,
that gateway drug probably appealed to you too because you were
yeah,
doing all your
yeah,
application by hand. So you were like, "Oh, cool. We can like we can use a
yeah. And
compound like flat applicator and like
yep.
cruise."
And then he had an angle head set up, and also he finished with a Tape Tech Mud Runner.
Okay.
And at the time, I was watching him use these tools, and he showed me a little bit on a job. I think it was one of those houses where he did one floor, and then me and my partner did the other floor or something. And I had a house to do myself, and I went out to the supplier and I bought all that stuff on my
Oh, really?
own, the tubes and the angle heads and all this stuff
Was it tape
without.
tech? Was he running any Can-Am stuff?
No, this was all at the time it was called Better Than Ever
Okay.
was the brand. It was a white
Yeah.
compound tube and red applicators.
Okay.
Um, and they were Drywall Master angle heads,
Okay.
and a really old school Columbia Marshalltown collaboration handles, which I still use to this day,
Okay.
and a Tape Tech pump, a Tape Tech mud runner. Anyway, I went out and bought all this stuff and tried to do a job on my own with it without actually learning them.
Sure.
And man, I was so frustrated. I was making a mess. I couldn't get the hang of it.
Yeah. I
And
just wasted $1,000.
yeah, so I went home and I washed all those tools, made them look brand new, and I brought them back to the place. I was like, I want to return these. This was a mistake. So I returned them. And then I think probably like a few months later or something, I started working with that guy a lot more. And he showed us the right way to use them. I was working with
Okay.
him.
All
And
right.
then me and my partner went and rebought all that stuff.
It's
None of
funny that
brands
that
though, but
store guy wasn't like, dude, you just don't know how to run these. Take them. Like, I got a guy that I can put with you, or you know what I mean? What a salesperson. He could have been like, whatever. That's
no, but I
besides.
was I was adamant about not wanting anything to do with these
Like,
when I
I'm
came.
done
I mean,
with
I
it.
walked in, I threw the stuff on the counter. I want my money back, and
Yeah.
it was a nightmare. And then I went through that whole thing again when I learned, automatic tools.
That
So
influencer
anyway,
thing, that is a big deal because when I learned, it was second nature. So in the union, all the dudes were just running the tools. That's how you did it. Immediately, I was like, oh, that's how you finish. That's professional finisher right there. They had the big butts, they had the Derby,
hmm
it was all level five, but they were using all the tools. And I was like, that just makes sense. And then they wouldn't let you touch them. It was like a rite of passage to like get to like
but
practice the box for a day. Like,
without the, I mean, I think this is probably this was definitely before Instagram or any of this, since
okay,
prior to the blow up of social media and
right.
drywall.
Maybe
So there was
09,
really
09, 2010.
ish, somewhere around there. I mean, if
Okay.
there was content out there, it wasn't something I was watching, I wasn't a part of. So I didn't get the opportunity to see any of this stuff. It was
Okay.
all just you meet guys on the job and this is what they have, and there was
Right.
nowhere around the area to even buy this stuff
Okay.
except for one place in Springfield, Massachusetts that had the compound tubes and all that stuff. There was no boxes. They didn't sell any of that stuff there. Um, so after learning that stuff, um, it was probably we made the switch over to paper-faced beads. So the compound tube and the hopper and stuff like that really helped with
Yeah.
that. But so me and him were running this company, and he had his area of the state, I had mine, and it was kind of almost like really two companies in one because I dealt strictly with my customers. I did the initial phone calls and the measuring and the estimating, the hiring, the invoicing, all that, and then he had his guys. So we're just basically, you know, two companies merged into one. And I
Nice.
stuck with him all the way up until about 4 years ago when I moved to Tennessee.
Okay.
And I've been back a couple times to help him on some jobs, and I'm going to see him in a couple weeks. I'm going to fly out there for
Sure.
something, and
Yeah.
so we definitely stay in touch. We go on vacation together all the time, and
He's your buddy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Kyle, what's
But
his last name?
he taught me a lot. Kyle Jacques.
Kyle Jacques, shout out. Very cool. And you both have difficult last names, so that's neat. So, okay,
Yeah,
let's
so
talk about this transition to Tennessee. What in the heck
mhm.
happened? Everything's working fine. You're working with Kyle. Your businesses are doing well. You have a baby. Are you married?
Yes.
Okay, so you got a wife, you got a baby. All of a sudden, you want to go to Tennessee? Let's talk about that.
So my family and I have always been like diehard into camping and RVing. And we always had campers.
Okay,
So when we made this decision to move because we came through Tennessee, I think back in 2019 on a trip and just fell in love with the area
sure.
and really wanted to one day move out there. And I was
Okay.
getting kind of stressed with work in Connecticut because I it was very, very busy and fast paced. We had like 40 subs working for us. And we
That
did
sounds
more than just we did
that
more
sounds
than
like a
just
lot.
drywall. I mean, we did framing, metal stud work, insulation,
Okay.
FRP, acoustical
Okay.
ceilings. I mean, we did a lot. Um,
You were
and
working with a big outfit.
I mean, it wasn't huge, but I mean, it was a decent size. There was always
Yeah.
several crews running at the same time, but we did a lot of work. I mean, out of state, ski condos in Vermont, and I mean,
Okay.
Massachusetts, and all over the place. And it was stressful. It was starting to get to me because I was spending so much time, maybe not at the job, but like at the office doing, on the weekends, working on blueprints or something for something. And I missed a lot of milestones in my daughter's life. I remember I was doing a project up in Vermont when I got a text of my daughter's first steps and her first
Ugh,
words and her first
yeah.
smile. It was all texts. I wasn't there for that. And it really bummed me out. It was, I had enough of it. That and the fact that I wasn't a huge fan of the political climate up there. A lot of crazy things were going on during COVID that I didn't agree with, and I just kind of
Sure.
wanted to get out of population and into a more southern rural area where I could
Smart.
cancel out all that noise and all the banter and all the negativity,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to focus on just getting rid of stress. What I wanted was I want to work by myself.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to rely on anybody. I don't want to have to babysit anybody. I don't want to be stressed. I want to get jobs that I know I can handle by myself,
Okay.
and I want to be home for dinner every night. I want to be able to travel
Smart.
more.
This is smart.
So,
I want to press the pause button right here because
yep,
people don't do that. You know, we are stuck in jobs. We got a mortgage payment. We have things that we have to do, the family, and we feel like we're stuck. But the
yeah,
reality is that you can create your own life anytime. You
yeah,
don't have to put up with that shitty boss. You don't have to put up with the 15-hour a day slave driver or whatever situation you got going. If you're unhappy, you, for whatever reason, dug down into your soul and you were like, this is not serving me anymore.
right, right,
And then you had this line item list of all of these things that you wanted to do. One was like enjoy your daughter while they're young.
yeah,
That time is fleeting.
yeah,
If you have kids out there and you're
yeah,
missing time,
yeah.
like
You can't
take
get it back.
note.
You cannot
You
get that time back.
you've got a window, like, and it's like, especially with a daughter, probably a 13-year window before she's gonna stop talking to you.
Exactly. Yep.
And like you have to take advantage of these precious, precious moments. So you have this, what I would call an epiphany. Did you own a house? How old are you, first of all?
I'm 39.
Okay, so you're pretty young, like whatever, 39. You have an epiphany. This at the time you were 35, 34. Um,
Something like that.
did you own a house?
No, we had a condo that we rented,
Okay, so that
and
was beneficial. But you were like, I want to get an RV. I'm gonna pile my family in the RV and take off.
well, see, we already had RVs, and we spent summers in the RV at different, RV resorts and stuff, and
Okay,
we
all right,
had we were like a seasonal campers at a particular
sure.
campground that like,
Okay,
the people there were our second family. We saw them all
okay,
summer. That's where my daughter grew up there, her friends, our
okay.
friends. I
For
mean, it
like
was like,
months at a time, you would pile in the RV, and you would work during these times though too. You would live in the RV remotely and then work, or
no, no,
would
no.
you?
Back then, it was we had an RV, but it was parked at a campground, and we just went to there, on weekends and in
Oh,
the summers and
okay,
stuff like that. So it was like
okay,
a summer place. But
okay.
the thing that made us move into the RV was when we decided. I've never been one to like want to own a home. I should mention that. Like,
Okay.
my mind is just all over the place, and I never ever wanted to commit to one thing.
They're kind of a
Um,
pain in the
and
ass.
all the crap that comes with owning a home too. I mean,
Yeah, they're a
I never
bitch.
wanted that. But so when it came time for us to move, we were in our condo. We had neighbors that we never talked to. I didn't know anything about them. Um, and when you live like in a neighborhood, you're just surrounded by people that you're not necessarily friends with. They're just other people, right? Um, we wanted to get back to the campground because all our neighbors are our friends. We all have things in common. It's a community,
Totally.
right? So when
Yeah.
it when it
You
came
play
time to move,
shuffleboard, do a little shuffleboard on the weekends.
no, 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 it's not Del Boca Vista, buddy. Um, the
You got the community
no,
headquarters. You get there for toddies at five
yeah, the
o'clock.
orthopedic shoes and no. So every week at home in the condo, for one, it was always a race to get to the weekend so we could get back to the camper. That's where we wanted to be, always. That's where we
Okay.
had our fun. That's where our friends were. That's where our activities were. Oh, I can't wait for Friday. Can't wait for summer. Can't wait for this. So
Yeah.
we always wanted to be there. So when it came time to move, we're like, we like being in the camper so much. Why don't we just live in the camper? That's
Smart.
our fun spot. And then
Yeah.
also, there was a massive thing I had going on in my head where I was obsessed with downsizing and minimalistic living
Smart.
because we had 1,000 square foot condo, but we spent all of our time in the same spot, the same freaking 10 square feet, right? You got your chair, you got your TV, that's the kitchen, it's the bathroom, and the bed. That's all I
Yeah.
need. So when
Yeah.
you have this house and you have all this space, all you do is fill it with stuff that you don't need. Oh, look at
Correct.
this room over here with that empty wall. We got to put
Yeah.
something there. Like I
Guest,
was never,
guest, yeah, guest
yeah,
bedroom.
like I
Yeah.
just, I just wanted minimal, and
Hmm.
then focus more time on family. And like even living in the RV, all of our time, people always say, "Oh, how can you do that? It's so small." Dude, the world is our living space. Like we spend all our time
Right.
outside. And I mean,
Right.
obviously, if it's raining or you got to go to bed, it's inside. But I mean, and now the mindset was eliminating two places to live. We had the camper and the condo. Eliminate one, and then it opens up so much
Yeah.
more financial opportunities to
Yeah.
travel and not have to bust your ass at work so hard. You know what I mean? You get rid of. I mean, don't just think about the house and how much that costs, but everything that goes along with it. You know what I mean? The water
Yeah.
bill, the lawn
Yeah.
maintenance, the snow plowing, the fixing the sprinklers, and I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's a burden, and I didn't want it.
It's really
So
smart. Dude, I love that.
I don't know
And
if it's smart, but it's
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 smart.
what it was.
There and so the only challenge that I could see, and I want to get into like to why you two also you bailed and went. Like now you got wheels. Now you can go wherever you want. You chose Tennessee. You like the way, you just liked it for whatever reason. But moving the kid with the school, that would be kind of challenging, I would imagine.
She's always been homeschooled, so it wasn't hard
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
Um, and my wife works from home. She works from the camper.
Okay.
So
Gravy.
really the only
Done.
thing holding us from moving whenever we want is the fact that I got to kind of be local to work. But
Drum up work. You're inspiring me.
being
I
that,
want to honestly, this inspires me. I think it's awesome.
well, that's good. Glad I could be of service.
Yeah.
It's a little fetched for a lot of people to understand. They think like we're living in some, little tiny, beat up old Airstream or something. But I mean,
Right.
it's just tons of space here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a burden at all.
What you got? What's your setup there? How big? How long?
It's a 44-foot Grand
All
Design
right.
fifth wheel.
Okay. It's a fifth wheel.
Um,
Is the fifth wheel
and
seems like a good design because you got all that bed space over the back.
yeah, it's a good sized bedroom, a
I
twin
like
bed,
the
full closet. I mean,
trailer. I like the trailer versus the RV, like a driving
yes,
unit. It's way better,
yeah.
right? Because you can drop it and take your car. You got a car built in.
Well, I mean, most people that pull a driving RV tow a car with them. It's rare to see one that doesn't tow a car.
Right. Right, but that's a bitch though, right?
No,
Why tow a car?
not any more than driving a truck that's pulling a camper.
All right, fair enough. Fair
It's
enough. I
it's really
like the
not interesting.
little, like the teardrops and like the little
Yeah,
scamps. Like those are like,
not
like I'm
not
talking
to
about
live
like
in.
not, yeah, not you're just
Yeah.
a bed and a place to make coffee. Like that's all you
Yeah, the
need.
good thing about those is that you are able to pretty much go anywhere. Space is a hard thing to navigate around when you have a big monster wheel
Yeah.
because there's a lot of places you can't fit, and especially
Right. Right.
we like to do a lot of national parks, and all of the campgrounds around national parks have been there since, I mean, for decades. So the campsites are designed to fit campers that were built decades ago, smaller. Now everything's getting big,
Uh,
big, 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 big. So
yeah.
it's hard to
Yeah.
fit in a lot of places, but we manage. But
Do
not
you have
just
a,
RV travel. I mean, we do a lot of just travel in general, plane travel, and
yeah.
and not having the house payments and all that really make that possible. And
Cool.
like I
Yeah.
was saying, I don't have to work as hard, and the
Right.
fact that I don't have anybody that works with me, I don't have to consider anybody, that, if I had an employee, they need a paycheck. I can't just disappear for 3 months or a month or whatever and leave this
Right.
guy hanging. So
Right.
that's kind of one of the reasons I work alone also.
Well, your life design is not locked into one place. We are locked
Correct.
in as a society. We get locked into one place. There's advantages to getting married. Oh, you get the tax breaks. You buy a house now, now you're married, so you can get a loan because now there's two people. Everything is designed to lock you in. Like, and I don't know if people like think about this, but like the more you break out of those confines, those societal confines, like
Hmm.
the freer your life will be.
Oh, 100%.
Nobody says you have to do shit. This is why what your story inspires me, because you chose to break those confines. I mean, people wait till they're like
Yeah.
60 to do what you're doing. You're doing it.
Oh, 100%. That was a big thing. I remember there was a guy that I used to work with. God, he's got to be pushing 70 now. He and I used to talk on the job. I worked with him on a lot of houses. He would do one floor, I'd do the other. We'd get together for lunch. And he's the one that actually inspired me to do this because he told me once, he's like, look, dude, because he wanted to get an RV. He was getting near retirement age and he always wanted one. He wanted to go out, go fishing, go in the woods, whatever. Um, and he told me, he said, don't wait till you're my age to do this. You keep talking about wanting to go out and do these things. And when you're my age, you're going to be too tired. Your kids are going to be gone. Do it now, man. Just do it
Yeah.
now. And he
Yeah.
was one of the big big guys that
Yep.
gave me the push.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at it, the guys that are retired, or the couples that are retired, they're in their 60s, early 70s, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of things they can't do.
Yeah.
But even more importantly than that, they missed the opportunity to do it with their kids, you
Love
know?
it. So now let's fast forward a little bit to now.
hmm
You're running all the tools?
I started when I moved here. I was doing primarily subcontract work for another drywall company, because when I moved here, I didn't know anybody. So I started working with or for one guy, and I noticed that like everybody around was running all these tools. And I was like, this probably be good for me to get into this because I need to increase my production here. I'm by
Okay.
myself. I don't have a partner anymore. I got to
Right.
get these things done faster. So I invested in, a little at a time, but I say little at a time, but it went pretty quick. It was like, a month
Yeah.
I bought this, next month I bought
Yeah.
this, and I learned because I was working by myself. I didn't have anybody teach me how to use them. So that's around the time when I started getting involved in social media. I
Okay.
downloaded Instagram and I started watching all these people
Right.
teach the tools. There's a lot of guys out there that have like instructional videos, like Brian Kitchen. He had that level 5
Yeah, yeah.
series.
Well, his videos are
Um,
great too. Like
yeah,
they're really good.
yeah. I mean, he explained it in a way that was like good for a beginner to learn how to use them.
Right.
A lot of guys are teaching people that already have the tools and they're just giving tips on how to use them, where it's like,
Sure.
I don't know how to use this. So I watched a lot of his videos, a lot of Phil from PRC
Yeah.
videos, Gary Holt, a
Yep.
number of people. I could go all
Sure.
day listing them all, but
Yeah.
I just I'd watch a bunch of videos one night, I'd go try it the next day, I'd figure out something I was having a hard time with, then I'd research that, ask
Yeah.
questions, and so that's what got me started on social media was learning the tools,
Very cool.
and that's really
And
100% of how I learned them.
you are pretty good with social media in your own right. How many was that something that you wanted to nurture your like because you have a lot of followers, right? You're like doing pretty good.
Little over 10, I think. I don't know why I have that many followers, to be honest, but
Well,
I've
you have good content. You have a friendly demeanor. You have really good content.
well, thank
but
you.
you don't have you didn't set out to be like I want a lot of followers. Gonna be an influencer.
No, I set out, to be honest, at the beginning. I was commenting on things and asking questions on things in the beginning. I had a different profile account, but I don't think people took me seriously because I didn't have any posts of my own. Um,
Okay.
so I wanted to like video myself doing a few things so that way, when I asked somebody a question or commented on somebody, they'd be able to see that, okay, you also do drywall. Here's what I can help you with.
Right.
And that
Okay.
was early on,
Smart.
but then I really um, started to enjoy editing videos. I
Yeah.
absolutely hate filming videos, but I really do like editing them. And
Me too. Yeah.
it was fun. And picking the music and switching the
Yeah.
clips around and stuff like that. I enjoy doing that.
That's
And
key.
I
I
don't know
think that's
where
key to making good videos, but it's also key to creating content. Like if you don't like creating content, you're going to struggle a lot with making content because video editing is a big deal.
I noticed early on, because I work by myself, I don't have the ability to have somebody chasing me around with a camera, getting moving shots. So all my shots are just tripod stationary.
Yeah,
So
mine
I
too.
had to I had to incorporate a lot of editing clips to make it look like it wasn't just a boring static
Yeah.
video of, okay, here, let me put the phone down and back up and then do something. I had to try and
Yeah.
get creative with it. So, and it's
Yeah.
fun for me. I,
We're
I
there.
want my focus now to be more teaching people things. And there is
Okay.
a lot of people over the past few months that have been messaging me on different social medias, asking questions, and I mean, from all over the world that have been asking for tips. And I'll say, show me a video, and I'll say,
Cool.
change this or do this or try this. And just giving guys tips because I know how hard it was to learn these tools without having anybody to teach you. You know what I mean?
Right,
It was
right.
very, very frustrating. I mean, you can imagine.
Yeah.
Take home a bazooka out of the box and start making money with it. You're not doing it. I mean, it's hard.
I mean, that social media aspect of learning the tools is that is a huge advantage to today's drywall finisher that we did not
Hmm.
have. We had stuffy journeymen that were like, "You're not ready yet." Like, the only challenge was that people were assholes and they didn't want to show you. Like,
They're still
whereas
assholes.
yeah, there's still some of them out there, but like this social media element where you could like go watch Drywall Nation's videos and learn any tool you want. Just type in like
Hmm.
the corner, the angle box, and like boom, you've got a
Hmm.
thousand videos to watch, and then you can go to the next day and do that work, or ask
Hmm.
somebody like Matt Arey, how do you do it? Arey Drywall. You can go, friend Matt. He's super friendly. So you got popular enough that how did you hook up with these Columbia characters? And then you got invited to go on in an RV to build 25. How did that come to be?
I started talking with Columbia right at the beginning of my social media endeavor. I had
Okay.
messaged Aaron because I had a problem with an angle head.
Okay.
Um, and when I messaged him, I had no idea he like owned Columbia. I just thought he was like some guy that like answered all the social media messages. And I
Yeah.
asked him some questions, and he sent me a new angle head, and I sent him back the old one that he could fix. And we started talking about the build show. This was not this most recent one, the one before that in
Okay.
Orlando. I was
Yep.
24, and I told him I was going to that. So he's like, "Yes, stop by the house, and we could talk." And I hung out with him at the show.
So you build 24, you were going to build 24. Aaron sends
Hmm.
you, they have like over the top customer service. He sends you angle head. You guys sort of develop a meager relationship. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I hooked up with those guys down there, and that's where
Okay.
I met Cam,
Yeah.
um, Danny, Sean, a couple other people, Hayden.
Yeah. It was a good crew that year.
Yeah, it was cool to meet the people that I had been talking to and asking questions to over the last few months. Um, and I don't know, I just started. I had owned Columbia Tools before that, before starting social media.
Okay.
Um, and honestly, the reason I kind of navigated towards them as a brand was like you said, just because of the customer service. Um, I was, blown away by how fast I could get solutions to problems I was having. And because I was new to the tools, um, I remember I broke a spring or something on my auto taper in the beginning, and I was like, crap, what do I do? And I sent a message to Columbia, and then Aaron FaceTimed me and fixed my problem immediately, and then overnighted me a new part. So I really thought that was a pretty stand-up thing to do.
Yeah.
And I get along with those guys really well. We seem to connect pretty well, and I've been
Yeah, they're good
starting to
guys.
do demos for them, which I really, really love. Getting the
Okay.
opportunity to show people how to use the tools now, you know, in
Cool.
person.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we'll see where it goes. But the RV thing happened because I was planning on going to that build show, and I was going to take the RV there, but because that was in Charlotte this past year or
Yeah.
this past couple months ago, which was only like a 5, 6 hour drive from where I am. Um, and I knew that Caden was going to be driving through, and I was like, "Hey, if you need a place to stop for the night or whatever, you're welcome at my place." So
Oh,
they
cool.
came here, and I
Yeah.
was going to take the RV, like I said, except for my wife. She travels a lot for her job.
Okay.
She had a trip that popped up where she needed to go fly out to. And I'm like, well, if I take the RV to Charlotte, she's not gonna have a home to come back to. So
Right,
I gotta leave
right.
the RV here. So I
Okay.
just jumped in the RV with those guys and went on a little bit of that road trip, and that was a blast.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out. Very cool. And that
Yeah.
you and I met
Yep.
in
Yep. At the
Charlotte.
Fresco Mud Skip booth. Yep.
Yeah, the Mudskip people just sort of, they said you can come to our booth and hang out, and they've been curious about the color because the Mudskip sort of gives regular all-purpose joint compound like plaster properties.
Hmm.
So they've had people like, "Hey, you got a color line for this stuff?" So, and then I interviewed Sheila, and so that's sort of how that relationship came to be.
Hmm.
Yeah, oddly enough, some people from Trinidad, Tobago, reached out to me yesterday that are interested in maybe carrying Fresco in Trinidad, which would be really cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see, we'll see. But then you, after that, did I give you a free color pack or something? You played around with the Fresco a little bit, or it was Chad, I think, was bugging you more than anything.
Yeah. The week after the build show, um, I met Chad there too for the first time, but him and I have been talking for a while prior to that. The week after the build show, I went to his neck of the woods
That's right.
in Illinois, and I did a house with him. And actually, Drywall Jesse was there too for a day. After work, you know, I I've been seeing Fresco for a long time. I just never had the opportunity to really
Yeah.
understand it or look into it. So we went back to his garage one night and actually a couple nights and played around with it. And he was kind of talking to me about it because my whole thing with Fresco was I don't really know. I can see it on videos on Instagram, but I've never felt it. I don't really know what it
Yeah.
compares to or how to, I mean, how to try and sell it to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it looked really cool. So he broke out a couple, different stuff he already had mixed up, and we played around with some samples, and I kind of learned the process, which I was super unfamiliar with before that. And
Right.
I was like, this is pretty fun to do, and I like splitting up my jobs with I hate doing the same thing over and over again. It gets
Yeah.
monotonous and boring.
Yeah.
I lose
Me
interest,
too.
which is kind of why I like to go back to hanging. But so playing around with a new material and a new style, that sparked my interest.
Yeah.
And I made some cool samples, and then you and I started talking, and now
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
get somebody to let me try it. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. And now you're sort of in the sales funnel process. Mine was similar, man. I've been doing drywall and I was like, is this it? Like I can
Yeah.
do this. I can do this now. I can only get better and more efficient. I was
Hmm.
pretty efficient at drywall, at finishing, but when the color came, it was just like, oh, wow, this is like it like opened up a whole new world of possibility. That was just my experience. And then yeah, sales was a thing. Trying to get somebody to do it is another challenge. It's
Hmm.
like, oh,
Hmm.
you gotta show it and be like, hey man, I can do this. Check this out. And we're not really salespeople. Drywall people are not,
Right, right.
it's
Well, I
like,
mean,
hey,
in a way we are.
how much to do this job? And it's like, oh, I'll give you a bid. Like that's not sales.
Well,
That's like, I
I mean,
need
it is
drywall.
really.
You do drywall. Give
Yeah,
me
but
a number.
you're selling your job versus somebody else. I mean, you do kind
Yeah,
of have a lot of sales experience, whether you think you do or not. But
it's
my
true.
problem with Fresco was just always trying to explain to people in a kind of professional way what the product is. I mean, I don't like, oh, this
Right.
is just colored mud. Well, that doesn't tell them anything. So
It's true.
it helps now that I have the sample and they can feel
Right.
it, and I can
Yeah.
explain what it is and why you should use it.
Right. I've told
So,
people
but
to like not even forget like explaining it. Just tell people like this is an affordable plaster. Like, this is what it looks like. We can do this wall pretty cost effectively. Like people don't care. They can't wrap their brain around there's a difference between plaster and joint compound. Like they don't know.
well, to be fair, in my area, there's not a whole lot of out of the box thinkers out here.
Sure.
It's old school out here, and the houses are they're boring, they're quick. There's not a whole lot of custom work here, so people
Fair
tend to
enough.
just do what sells. And there's
Yeah.
certainly, I mean, back up in Connecticut, in New England in general, there's a lot of plaster work, a lot, because it's an old part of the country. Here,
Yeah.
there's no plaster work. So to tell
Yeah.
somebody, oh, it's like plaster, well, they go, well, what's that? They don't even know
Right.
what it is, or
Right.
why somebody would want that over joint compound. I know. So the
Right.
couple people I have talked to about fresco, I've been saying, and I don't know if I should be saying this, but
Sure.
I just say it's a more cost-effective way to get a Venetian look. It's got that
Okay.
shine to it, and then I show them pictures of stuff you've done, and
Right.
some of
Right.
the better high quality resolution photos that are floating around on the internet, and
Dude, whatever
it
works.
definitely helps. Yeah,
That's good feedback. It's just a unique aspect of drywall finishing that's different and new, and I have a lot of fun selling it. I have a lot of fun doing it. I've got a job
yeah.
next week. It is fun to do.
Hmm.
I'm 20 years in and I still enjoy it. There's a Pearl of Wisdom section of the Drywall podcast.
There's a lot that I could say because I have a lot of pearls of wisdom, but if I had to
Okay.
narrow it
You
down,
do. You do.
um, I would say that social media is obviously a really beneficial tool, a platform, if you will, to learn. And there's a lot of opportunities to ask questions and to grow and to network with people. But there is just so damn much negativity on it. Everybody seems to want to chime in with how they're the best, and there's only one way to do it. But if you think about it, there's a million ways to get the mud from the bucket to the wall, right?
Yeah.
If there
Yeah.
was only one way to do anything, there would only be one tool manufacturer and there would only be one way to put tape on.
Right.
So I think my pearl of wisdom has to be to try different methods. Everybody, don't think you're the best at what you do if you don't have experience doing it another way. Try everything, listen to people, learn, and ask questions, and keep the negativity out of the equation. Because I mean, Facebook, Instagram, like, you've seen it. It's a
Yeah.
cesspool of negativity. And
Yeah.
and that tends to take people away from wanting to ask questions or show their product, show their system because they're afraid of getting attacked.
Mm.
And I just want
Yeah.
to tell people, don't be afraid. Post, ask away, ask me, reach out to me,
Right.
anybody, and just never stop learning because nobody you're talking to on social media is the best. There's no best, right? As long as you're getting paid and you're happy at what you do and you're proud of your job, you're the best. Do your best. That's probably
Love it.
the best I could come up with a pearl of wisdom.
Fantastic. I just interviewed Logan Davis. I don't know if you heard that interview yet.
Not yet.
He's a like a superintendent, but he's like a GC. But his background is plaster and finishing. But he had that same
Hmm.
feedback. He does fresco too, but he like said, I just stopped doing it because people were so negative. And so that destructive quality that negativity creates does nothing. It does not serve the
No.
drywall community. The other tidbit that I would have or comment to your pearl is that don't get sucked into it. Like you don't
Right.
have to comment to that bozo who like says that the way you did it is stupid. You can either delete the comment if you don't want to see it, and you could also just scroll on by. If it's on another thread, you don't need to engage with that negativity.
No, well, I mean, in the beginning, I had a really hard time letting those negative haters just, go without me having a chance to like respond. I know a
Right.
lot of people, the ones that have been around for a long time, they've learned really well to just not even pay attention to the negative
Right.
comments.
Right.
Um, I had a hard time with that. I still do because it's
Sure.
like, I mean, you got
Sure.
to think. I mean, when we're posting content, we're trying to cram an entire process of something into a 30-second clip.
Right.
So when people are watching it, I mean, they're picking apart stuff in the background or stuff that's not even, I mean, this is not how we do the job, right? It's 30 seconds of it crammed into one screen, right? So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the people and like, dude, for God's sakes, read the damn captions because half of the negativity is answered in the caption. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's just it's hard for me to not argue with some people, but it's like
Yep. Yeah.
you
Me
go
too.
you can't help but go back and like look at the profile of the person that's arguing with you or telling you you're doing a bad job, and they have either nothing related to drywall on there, or they're a cook or a
Yeah. Yeah.
landscaper or something like that, and it's like,
There
dude,
is a
why are you
there's a plaster
just
guy.
stop?
There's a plaster guy on like Drywall Junkies. One of the drywall on Facebook. Facebook is worse, but like there's this
I hate
plaster
it.
guy. Anytime I post anything, oh, he's just doing colored mud, or like he like comes at me directly. The dude's never used Fresco Harmony, hates it. Like, but every single time it's like, oh, there's more of that, color. All you have to do is dump in color, and he just cut like I've called his mom a whore or something
Yeah.
like horrible. And I go to his page. A, there's zero posts. He has one post of him like sitting on the side of his bed, giant guy, like just, a mess, like this grainy photograph of like this ugly ass plaster wall. And I'm like, fucking dude,
It's ridiculous,
give
dude.
me a
I mean,
break,
I've
man. Let
seen
it go.
I've seen you post things on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook as Arey Drywall, but like I don't have a professional account on there. But I've seen you post things in Junkies or
Yeah,
what was the other
yeah.
one?
I just don't
Takers
do
Only
it.
or
I'm
something.
like,
Recently, though, I saw somebody negatively comment on something you posted, and I wanted to jump on there, but
right.
I'm like, I'm not getting involved in this.
Let it
I
go.
hate Facebook
Yeah,
with a passion,
yeah,
especially Junkies, man, especially Junkies. It's
yeah.
the way everybody on that page is like God's gift to the world, but it's
They're
like,
so
dude,
mean.
you're not a neurosurgeon or a freak. You're a drywaller, like all of us. Like
Come on.
you're not the best
Come
at
on.
anything. You know what I mean? Like, dude,
Well,
it's a
but
joke,
in
man.
that regard, you can have compassion too. Like, so, like, if you realize that, like, these people, there's something going on inside them where they feel like maybe they are, and who knows? I'm not a therapist, but like maybe they were abused. There's some part of them that feels like they need to be heard and they're not getting heard. And like if you look at it from that standpoint, it's like, oh, what a bummer. Like they have to feel like they have to comment on
Yeah,
everything or comment on your stuff negatively to make them feel better about themselves. And I try to look at it that way, and it helps me give compassion. Like, oh, okay, whatever, dude. I've seen your bullshit before. Like, I don't need to engage. Like, that's a different reaction than I'm so pissed. I'm just gonna scroll and not comment. Those are two totally different reactions too. Also,
try to make it a point to respond to all of them, but in like a non-combatant way, especially if I'm collaborating with some other brand. I don't want to go off the rails, but I mean,
yeah,
sometimes it's
yeah,
hard, but like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you respond to some bit of the negativity, and then they don't answer back, or they'll just reply with
yeah.
a laughing emoji or something. Like,
You can have intelligent conversations offline too. I find too a lot of them, if I go to the message and I'll be like, hey dude, give me a call, we can sort this out without you bashing my product or something. If you have
right,
a question, I can answer it. Like, here's my
right,
phone
right, right.
number, call me. And it's totally different when you get somebody on the phone. They're like, I
Yeah,
wasn't trying to be a dick, I just didn't know about this stuff, I
yeah.
was in a bad mood, like whatever.
I don't know, man. I don't think the negativity is ever going to stop, but once it gets to the point where it's keeping other people from learning because they're afraid to ask, it's just, social media is supposed to be our public square of this era, right?
Yeah,
That's where you go to, and it's keeping people from doing that. And it's a
yeah,
shame because that's how I learned, and that's how everybody else should too. I've talked to
yeah,
people who have sent me videos, and I'm like, so, oh, no, because I'm just going to get attacked, and it's a shame.
yeah, that
I'm
is.
really 100% for people being able to ask questions without,
Yeah.
getting jumped on.
So the
you know?
takeaway too is if you're listening, the takeaway from this pearl of wisdom and this conversation is just post. Just post. There's a lot of people out there that will support you. This is a community. We want to see your content. If you're new, if you're nervous about posting and all that stuff, you've got a lot of people like Matt that will support you. I will support you. To not post because of, the mean people out there is a disservice to your drywall community. That would be my takeaway.
That, and just also, I mean, everybody out there, even the ones that are negatively commenting on other people's posts, I mean, you have to just, you can't stop learning. Don't think you're the best. Keep learning. I mean, like if you look at the super taper, the slot box, the shit box, whatever you want to call it, right?
I love to make fun of the shitbox on the Drywall podcast. That's my favorite. And it's like people finish that way and they're really fast at it, and it is like a viable. I've never done it. I've never done the shitbox. But people do it and they swear by it.
You don't have to, but if you're going to comment on somebody that is using it negatively, you can't say anything if you've never tried it.
That's right.
So if you want to be part of the discussion, you could be 100 miles an hour with an auto taper. But if you've never tried it this person's way,
that's right.
It's clearly working for them, then don't say anything. Go and try the tool. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll find there's a part of your process where you could use it. I mean,
and if I get excited when somebody that uses the shitbox comes on the show, because I try to vet them. I talk with Gilberts about them using it, and it's an illuminating conversation because I didn't consider that. That's true. You're reeling out 250 feet of muddy tape. That's more than a bazooka can handle, one bazooka load. Mm-hmm. So if you know what you're doing, you can go fast with that method.
I think every method of taping, I mean, whether you're using a hawk and a trowel, a hawk and a knife, pan and knife, knife and trowel, whatever it is, every one has its benefits, right? And for somebody to, pick apart or blast somebody for using one over the other, I mean, when they don't have the experience using it, how can you really tell that person based off of a 30-second clip that they're not doing something right? It's stupid. I mean, it's childish. I just, that's my pearl of wisdom.
I agree.
Fuck up, let people do what they're doing, ask questions, and keep learning.
Even the hand finishers out there, we still love you, even though you're not using automatic tools.
Well, I like to consider myself both hand and tool.
Yeah, you are.
Although it's more tool these days, but
Matt Arey, I appreciate your time on the Drywall podcast today. Excellent conversation. I love that wrap up, man. That was badass. Head over to Matt's social media page. What's your handle? Arey Drywall, right?
It's just Arey Drywall on Instagram.
On Instagram. Go check out his content. It's fantastic. Do you have a YouTube?
I do not.
Okay.
I've been toying with the idea of getting one, but not yet.
Yeah, you should, especially if you like to make content. A lot of that content that you already have, you could just throw into a YouTube page and go tell people that to follow you on YouTube and blow it up over there.
I have made a few videos for other companies, and they're too long for Instagram.
Okay.
And I don't really realize how long they are. They're educational videos.
There you go.
But once I start editing and putting them together, I don't realize how long they are. So a couple people have told me you need to start a YouTube because that's perfect for the longer videos. So that might be in the future. But for now, it's primarily just Instagram. I have a TikTok too, but I don't.
You do have a TikTok. Okay.
I don't really use it or interact with people on it.
No,
much.
there's a bunch of assholes over there too. TikTok.
I mean, the most of the interactions I get from people, they don't seem to be really interested in drywall. I think that most of it is for the way I perceive it is Instagram is great for people that do drywall and learn drywall and ask questions about drywall. TikTok to me seems like they're only interested in it if it's a satisfying video to watch. I'm not really in it for that. So but to each his own. That was a lot
Thanks
of fun.
so much. It was a lot of fun, and you're just a great guy. I've met Matt in
Thanks,
person,
man.
and you're really nice. You're super genuine, and I appreciate that. And I hope you have a good rest of your day, man. We'll talk soon.
Well, you too. Thanks. Been a long time coming, buddy.
All right, buddy. Talk to you. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Huge shout out to Matt Arey for being with us on the Drywall podcast today. You, sir, are a gentleman and a scholar. Look for Matt, I think, up in Connecticut with the Trim Techs and Columbia training and get together up there. He's doing all kinds of cool stuff. Also, go check out his social media pages if you haven't already. He has some fantastic stuff. Guests of the Drywall podcast will receive a sweet swag bucket from our friends at CSR just for coming on the show and telling your story like Matt did just now. If you are interested in coming on the show, you can reach out to me directly, info@frescoharmony.com. I love hearing from you, and if you reach out, it's likely that I will probably put you on the show if you're a drywall finisher or are affiliated with the finishing industry in some respect. Also, I want to give a huge warm shout out to Tape Tech for sponsoring the Drywall podcast once again in the month of June. It's because of sponsors like Tape Tech and listeners like you that make this possible for me, and I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart. This month, we are highlighting some badass skimming blades and knives. If you're out there chasing that perfect finish or just looking in to make wipe downs faster, cleaner, and smoother, look no further. If you're not running Tape Tech premium knives, give them a try. They are the real deal, and your work will show it. You have a difficult choice of choosing what to listen to when you head over to that radio while you're at work, or if you are in your car driving to work today, you chose the Drywall podcast. And I am super grateful that you did. Thank you so much. Tune in next Friday as we have another badass show for you. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And remember, keep drywalling.